area. But that was designed when we had all the vegetation and the trees. Now they're developing another one that's going to be effective because we're going to have mudslides and trees and logs, and I mean they're going to plug up the drainages that we have, and we're going to have you know, areas that are going to fill up and then burst, and gushes are going to come through. And so
I have a question relating to that. The Army Corps of Engineers and the Forestry Service, what kind of options are they looking at other than sandbagging and barriers? Like, are they looking at digging?
They're talking about
runoff ponds
and so they're going to have to create multiple
clearings
ponds to
around
slow.
the drainage.
All they can do is help slow the water down.
Yeah.
So that's what they're working on right now. We're going to have public meetings so that you can ask questions to the experts.
And then I have another question just as far as uninsured homeowners. Is there a specific fundraising going on for those people that don't have homeowners insurance?
Well, our homeowners insurance here in Moira does not cover flood.
Yeah.
So I mean
just from the fire.
Okay, so those people, we are working on programs through FEMA and through other entities, and trust me, we are working on other avenues to get people their homes, but we just need to make sure that we can put them back in a home that is safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I just mean like homeowners insurance covers like if you need to rent a place to stay, that's covered by homeowners insurance. And if you need to replace your appliances, that, like you were talking about, that should be covered on your homeowners insurance. But from what I'm hearing is a lot of people don't have homeowners insurance, and it seems like to figure out a solution for them and make sure that they are getting taken care of now for places to stay, reimbursement for gas cards, gift cards, whatever you guys are doing. I was just curious. We're not one of those, but
So we're trying to work with resources. As you know, our county is doesn't have the resources to do it, but we do have resources that are coming forth, and I believe there's a lot of people that are volunteering and donating, and so we're trying to pull those. And I think with Dan's page and stuff that help New Mexico and everyone else that's communicating with people, you are getting the word out. I don't know how it's being coordinated to get it to the people that need it the most.
Yeah, I'm just asking out of curiosity.
I don't know. I feel that the resources are there. I just don't know that everyone is getting the help that they need.
Yeah, a liaison maybe to reach out to just spread the word in the community and say those people that don't have homeowners insurance, because I think people might be scared and they may not know what to do, and they just
or they're afraid to
that they have a whole loss and they don't know.
I want to try to reach out to the people. I mean, I've gone to help them come and file their register and get the help that they need. But what I've stressed to all of the entities that we've worked with is that many of our people have lived, and I mean our people meaning people from Moore County. It's not I know it's like okay, but it's anyone from Moore County that I serve. A lot of these people have lived in homes that have been here for centuries, well maybe not centuries, but generations, and they're not insurable homes.
I know, and I think that's a shame.
That is unfortunate, because even if they could have gotten insurance, they couldn't have insured them because the infrastructure was not up to date, or whatever the case may have been, or they may not have even been able to afford it.
Yeah.
So these resources are there to help those people, because I mean, who would have ever expected a adobe home to be damaged? You think that they've lasted 100 years, so it's going to be here for another 100 years, but we've never had the disaster we had now. So we do have resources that are there to help them. I'm so sorry that the process takes so long. For right now, we have people probably staying with families, and we've made accommodations for hotel rooms in Albuquerque. The unfortunate thing is that we don't have housing in Mora, and we have limited housing in Las Vegas. So we're trying to bring people as close to home as we can. They don't have FEMA trailers. We've been working with, it's very frustrating for me, because I can't get the services that I needed 2 weeks ago today.
We don't have the infrastructure in in place that we could bring in trailers or whatever.
Yes.
We don't even have that. We have, you know, the resources that communities like ours get are very limited. And then when disasters like this happen, we're not prepared. And I think we need to raise our voices and make sure that we have the resources, that we're well prepared for another disaster. This disaster, I've talked about it for 20 years. I've reached out to the Forest Service, to BLM, to all of these organizations and said, we need to clean out our forests, let our people go in and add value to that wood so they can make a living and clean out our forests. I said, we live in a tinderbox and it's still not over. It's still not over, and we need to be very careful. You know, we just need to demand that things are different, that we get the resources that we need to prepare for disasters such as this. Look at COVID-19. Our kids didn't have access to computers. They didn't have access. We weren't prepared. The whole world wasn't prepared.
Even during this disaster, we lost all communication. It was so challenging to even communicate with our law enforcement and our EMS and our firefighters, because you couldn't get through. There was no service. There were no landlines. There was no cell service or radios because the towers burned. But we didn't have a backup. Well, and we don't have backups because we can't afford them.
But our telephone company should be prepared to come and set up mobile units with the technology that we need. I mean, in today's world and how technology works, you know, we should have those things in place for a disaster. I said, and I think that's really that.
Hi, I'm Betsy Whithorn with Red Cross, and we want to support you in the folks that are uninsured or insured that have lost their homes in this disaster. We are trying to reach out as much as we can to those folks, and we have assistance for those people. So if you can help reach those people and connect them with us, we would really appreciate them.
At
So
VFW?
we have been at the VFW with the FEMA, and we will continue to be there. We have flyers. There's a phone number that you can call us at, and I'll leave those with you. But please, we really want to help these folks who've lost their homes in this fire. We do have some financial assistance for them, and very much want to connect with them.
Thank you so much. The only thing is that, I mean, a check does not give them a home.
You're absolutely right. So this is just a bit to help get by.
And it's not your fault and it's not our fault. It's just the circumstances that we live in that we're trying to figure out how to accommodate them. But with a monsoon season coming,
Yes.
it's something that we need to be cognizant of, and that we need to figure out where we can place these people until we get past that season and get them in a comfortable place, and then start preparing for next year's monsoon. So it's a never-ending job, but we will get through it. And that's what I need people to understand. Our people are resilient, and they're determined to survive this, but everything that they live for is here.
And a beautiful valley it is.
You know, so I realize, you know, it was difficult to get people to evacuate, but people would say, you know, if I evacuate, everything that I live for is in Mora, and if I don't stay behind to defend it, what's life worth after that, you know? So that's our culture, and I support it, and my responsibility was that people survived this disaster. And, you know, thanks to all the people that stayed behind to help those people, and the people that were out there helping the people that had evacuated. Our people suffered. We were in survival mode, but we weren't going to give up. So.
Just to congratulate you guys again in the mobilization and the manner of how you orchestrated the different systems of support. I think not everybody recognizes the level of coordination and communication that's going to be necessary. Again, I mentioned earlier this idea that this could help to bring cohesion to the community. People, all shareholders, all entities come together. But again, I think there's a need for clarification as to where those next levels of communication channels lead, particularly the federal entities. Again, We have fire crews that are here from Alaska. There was a quick mobilization to bring people in to help out. There's still more than 3,000 people on the mountain that are fighting right now. But in the recuperation and identifying and saying, this is where the watershed damage is, this is the personal property damage, etc. That's going to require a continued communication with your state level representation, your congressional representation, and particularly Deb Holland, because this is, it's on her watch, and she's a New Mexico native, so I think you can find it there, but those level of communication. So my question is kind of, are you, like when they were doing fire reporting, will there be some kind of continued communication in place by means of technology or social media or something to keep people abreast that these are discussions that are taking place? I agree that there's some immediate action to watch out for the flooding, to prevent that additional fires don't come into place, because that could happen. We're scheduled for lightning strikes this afternoon to restart areas.
We're not out of the fire danger yet.
Yeah, so there's some immediate issues that are in place, but the long-term rebuild, again, is really going to take a lot of leadership and orchestration with those entities that have to be accountable and responsible, and maybe they have resources that we at this point were even unfamiliar with.
There's a lot of resources that we weren't even aware of that have stepped up to the plate. And they're here helping us, and more resources are coming in. Moore County only has 3 commissioners, so it's very difficult for us to get the word out to everyone. And so they're assigning PIOs to this area and also to the Cooks Peak area. And we're going to start having public meetings to educate the people and advise them and give them updates and let them know who the different resources are and what's going to be in place for people to look forward to and where to go for assistance. And it's just that there's so many entities that only take care of a little portion of the problem. And there's so many bigger problems. But I guess that they each, it's like, debris removal is totally separate from reforestation and flood mitigation, and, it's...
Do you have any date or schedule for the first community meeting already?
As a matter of fact, today they're working on that. They're trying to coordinate so that all the experts will be available at that time, either via Zoom or in person. And they're trying to secure a place to have those meetings so that people can participate. But we just need to get the word out so that everybody can be aware of it. And there's people that don't like to leave their homes, but those are probably the people that need to know about this the most. There's help for those people, but we just need to identify those people and try to, get them the help that they need and educate them on what could happen at the locations that they are at. And you guys have to understand, our people are used to sacrificing, but this is a sacrifice that they don't have to go through alone. We need to go through this together with them and help them. So if anyone knows of anybody that needs assistance, even if they say they're okay, they're probably not. So please let us know where they're at and we'll reach out to them.
Well, some people need help and they go to FEMA, but they get frustration because I don't know what happened. Like me, for example, I went to FEMA to ask for assistance for the loss of food, for the evacuation and no electricity. And they gave me information that called to New Mexico Human Resources. And I called and the lady told me that asked for disaster food SNAP. And I asked for that, and the person that answered, they don't know nothing about it.
They probably don't.
I think maybe we need to meet with FEMA and get the information like more organized to be able to tell the people what is going on, because some people said, I need this help, but I gave up.
So let me share a little bit of information on that, and I wasn't going to let it out until next week. We've been working diligently to get help for all citizens, because even people that could afford to buy more food didn't save money to buy food that they lost because of a disaster that someone else caused. Mm-hmm. And I fought for that, and it's going to roll out next week. So I'm going to read the details to you. the general purpose, the general program requirement, and I put my glasses on because I can't read this. It's for, okay, let me read it. Because of the unique needs of disaster survivors, DSNAP uses different standards than normal SNAP. Even if you would not normally qualify for SNAP, you may qualify for DSNAP if you had one of the disaster-related expenses below: home or business repairs, temporary shelter expenses, evacuation or relocation expenses, disaster-related personal injury, including funeral expenses. Lost or no access to income due to disaster includes reduced, terminated, or delayed receipt of income for a large part of the benefit period. In some cases, food loss after a disaster like flooding or power outages. If you're a current SNAP client, you can request a supplement when your state operates a DSNAP. If you meet the condition below, you currently get benefits that were less than the monthly maximum, and you have losses from the disaster. So that means, they don't mention income, so that means everyone's going to qualify for this. That was in the evacuation area, and if your power was turned off, and if you had to evacuate. I don't think I'm going to, should have given it before I read
They're
it.
200s.
250s. But anyway,
Yeah. The other thing is in the news, they said, oh, FEMA already approved 2.3 millions for people in the wildfires. No matter if your home was burned or not, but there is only 798 applications you have to apply. I called and they told me something different. So
let me tell you that this, when it rolls out next week, it's only going to be open for a little window of time. And you need to get on it and apply for it quickly. And what they'll do is they'll send you an EBT card, I believe. And if anyone needs help activating it, they can help you activate it. I think most of the people in here can handle it. But if you know of anyone else that needs help activating it, please reach out to them. But you got to realize New Mexico was, as a state, was declared a disaster, and there's, I believe, 16 counties that were in a fire critical area. So it was open to a lot of people. However, in this area, I believe there's 5 counties that qualify for this assistance. So, and it's a certain zip codes, and so just make sure that your address is in Mora County and your zip code reflects Mora County so that you can qualify for that assistance. Or I believe San Miguel, a part of San Miguel also qualifies for that.
Veronica, with the SNAP program, is it possible for the county and the state to reach out to somebody located here in the county? Because it's like they said, when you call, you get transferred to someone that's working at their home that has no clue. In some cases, they don't even know that they live in the state that there's a disaster declared for Mora County. Yet we're having to send people from here to Vegas to go and apply for stuff. Same thing happens with FEMA. FEMA is located at the school, it's located at the VFW. You go from one table to the other, you go to one table, they tell you, fill out all this stuff, you fill all that stuff, and they say, well, you gotta go to the small business loan. Small Business Association there tells you, well, you only qualify if you're under this area under FEMA. You go back to FEMA, FEMA tells you, well, you don't qualify for anything for FEMA, so you have to go to the small business. Small business says that you put into your insurance. If you don't have insurance, you're basically out of luck.
Plus, on top of that, if it's an agricultural loss, they don't help you, and you have to go to USDA for that.
And USDA isn't here, and so they ship you over to Las Vegas. The Las Vegas office at this point isn't aware of anything going on because they're not at that point in the process. So you've sent them from here to here to here for them to get so frustrated that yet the governor, they sent out a team to the school for all the federal permittees that have federal permits at the federal level for cattle grazing, took care of them, but yet you have all the small ranch land owners that live in this county that there has been no representation to say how are they going to fix all the small ranchers. You've taken care of the federal lands, okay, I'm thankful for that, but what about all the rest of the community in which there are small ranchers, anywhere from 10 to 30 cattle that depend on the summer grazing, and in which the grazing is burned, not because it was caused of a forest fire, it was caused because of back burning. And then the second reason that those places burned, and I'll give you an example, when Guadalajara, all through this whole scenario, the predictions, it's going to hit the Rincon Mountain, it's going to hit the Rincon Mountain, it's going to hit it, it's going to hit it. In that time frame, 3 weeks prior to it hitting there, not one time did they do dozer lines across that ridge to stop the fire. Not one time was there any dozers put up there to run a line across that mountain to keep the fire from coming down. When that fire hit the Rincon Mountains, came up through Canal Cabo and burned, literally moonscaped that whole canyon, went over the top, we still had to run dozer line. And rather than go and fight the fire at the top, they went and back burned from people's houses all the way up to the Rincon. People that own anywhere from 100 acres to 40 acres to 1,000 acres. It wasn't because the fire burned it, it's because we back burned it. Now I can understand back burning on federal land because they have the right to, as a federal forestry, to do what they want on federal land. But to go behind someone's home and back burn because they don't want to fight the fire, that was a deliberate burn of someone's economy, their lifestyle, their livelihood is gone. My question for you from the county, because you're in that position now, Veronica, and I love you to death, is the county going to take a step in regards to filing a lawsuit on behalf of the county and the citizens of Mora County for the back burning they did, because most of the land that got burned here was done through back burning, not because the fire burned it.
Yeah.
And to go to someone's private property and back burn it because you didn't run dozer lines. So we know the fire was going to Angel Fire. 2 weeks before that fire was estimated to be there, they ran dozer line. In Pop Creek, all the way, they ran 16 miles of dozer line, 6 dozers wide. We didn't do that at Caporillo to stop that fire from crossing over to this side. But yet we knew it was coming according to the predictions, and on TV them saying it's going to hit here, it's going to hit here, it's going to hit here. And we did a dozer line, 1 dozer wide. And maybe we learned from that, but the majority of the burn that took place that burned people's private land and ranch land and summer grazing was done through back burning. And so now we have the issue of not only that they don't have places to take their cattle for the summer, they're also losing their winter grazing because they have to keep them down in the bottom. So the fix to say, well, we're going to buy you hay, only fixes the problem for a couple of months. What happens in the fall when those cattle should have come down and the hay we should have saved and stored for the winter, we now don't have that. And in some cases, a lot of farmers and ranchers having to make the decision to sell. Now, ranching and farming is that nature dictates what happens. But when man does it purposely, that's what's wrong what took place here. Purposely took place here. And the government and the county should stand up and say, we need to stand up for the citizens of Mora County. How do we fix it for every citizen that was affected by that fire? Not only, and then the other thing, when they brought up the thing of the housing, you know, there were decisions made to save certain houses and not. And talking to the firefighters, I understand that they can't save every house. But when they came down some of the canyons in Chaco, they said there were only shacks up there. Those aren't shacks. Those were where people lived. They were old adobe houses, and they burned.
And I understand that. I can't answer for it because the fire was not our responsibility. The responsibility is to the people. And trust me, that's a litigation issue. I can't discuss it, but we are working on it.
Okay.
The only thing is we can't enter into it until it's deemed done. Because we still have an active fire in Chalcon. I don't know how much more damage that's going to cause. They're still smoldering in Mora County, so until that's done, we can't step up to that plate. But trust that we are, and we have very capable resources that have stepped up to help us.
What's happening with the water situations for the community? So I know Chacon, one of them is an issue, the way the water feeds into its community water. So we know the request went in for potable water. We know that at this point, according to the request, the National Guard in New Mexico does not have a tanker or enough tankers to provide potable water to Chacon. Okay, so they're trying to figure that out. So the question is,